and gentlemen, welcome back to Unarmored Talk podcast. I'm your host, Mario P. Fields, and today's guest is the one and only. I say that because his last name is the same last name of my son-in-law, right? Future son-in-law, because my daughter gets married here soon. Sam Crump. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mario. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
No, thank you, man. We're honored to have you here. I know you're pretty busy and doing a lot of things out west, but so hey, can you tell the listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Oh my goodness, in 30 seconds or less, right? Let's see. I'm 57 years old. I'm coming up on my 30th anniversary with my wonderful wife, Colleen, who's an RN. I'm an attorney, but I'm also an entrepreneur. More about that in a second. I've got 4 adult kids, all doing well and finding their way in the world. We live here in Arizona on the north tip of Phoenix. And that's basically for most of the last 20 years. Before that, I was a California kid and born and raised in mostly Northern California. So speaking of entrepreneurial things, besides being a lawyer, I just can't do that all the time. I'd go crazy. So for fun, I started about 4 years ago, Sam's Frozen Yogurt Shop. That's a lot of fun. And I'm also a health coach because I lost a lot of weight last year, as my wife did, and we became coaches. We're helping other people do that. And I'm even a part owner in an empanada company that just launched up in November. So I keep busy, keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah, I said, well, hey, here's another thing about Sam, ladies and gentlemen. He's a veteran.
I am a veteran. I was Army JAG right out of law school.
Nice.
Went to Germany. I was a prosecutor in Germany. And my wife and I had our first 3 children up there. Those military people that have been over in Germany, you went and picked up your car in Bremerhaven. That was in my jurisdiction. I was with the 2nd Armored Division Forward, and we handle all legal matters in the Northern Territory. We were really in the British territory. I don't know why.
Yeah, that you know, and thanks, Sam, for volunteering, you know, to protect what I believe is one of our nation's most precious jewel called freedom. And so, hey, I salute you. You were an officer, right? So if I was in uniform, I would salute you, my friend.
That's right, but first name only now. But I was
right.
I got in as a first lieutenant and got out as a captain.
My man. Well, let's get right into the topic, Sam. You know, we talked about all of the entrepreneur stuff you're doing, and you know, you're a lawyer, your law firm. I mean, a lot of amazing stuff. Have 4 children, 4 adult children, but from my understanding, one of them was in college, and then he comes home with this wonderful news. Well, he thought it was wonderful. Dad, Mom, here's the deal. I'm going to get out of college and I'm joining the Marines. Let's talk about that.
That's right. So this was right around 2011, I guess. We were kind of in a state of flux geographically, career-wise ourselves. And our son was finishing up, I guess, his 2nd year at Arizona State University. I don't think he was quite sure where he wanted to go with that, which might have been some of the reason, you know, the other thing came about. But this is our son, Jonathan. He's one of our middle kids, a twin, actually, with his sister. And but he's always been very athletic, very self-confident. If we'd take the family to the park and we couldn't find Jonathan, we would just look up because he'd be up in a tree somewhere. He was one of those kids. And so I wasn't completely surprised when he told us that he didn't really, I don't think he even came to us and wanted to talk about it. I think he just informed us.
He just told you guys, hey, here's the deal.
I also can't remember if he said he had signed up or he was going to sign up. I think he said he was going to sign up because, yeah, it must have been that because I had a little bit of advice for him, which he did not take. But, you know, as a dad, let's see. Well, first of all, I think looking back, I think he would even say this, that he had kind of caught Pat Tillman fever. You know, the battle over in the Middle East was raging. And, you know, Pat Tillman, a patriot who walked away from an NFL career, joined the Army and essentially became a martyr, I guess, for the cause. And, you know, a real hero. Especially here in Arizona, but you know, everywhere. But he was from Arizona, of course. So I think he had caught some Pat Tillman fever, and this is what he wanted to do.
Right.
And so I remember just having a little bit of a conversation with him, and I said, "Look, God bless all of our men and women who serve in uniform, those who have served, those who have sacrificed limbs, those who have died, the ultimate sacrifice. But I said, let me just say to you that you've already got 2 years under your belt of college, and the next 2 years will go by very fast. And have you thought about going in as a Marine? Because I applied as a Marine, I'm sorry, as an officer in the Marines. And because I think, that you've already got the leadership skills.
Right.
And I think it might open up, a whole another world of opportunities as opposed to just enlisting. There was no denigration of enlisted at all, but I think you understand what I was saying to him. And I was coming, I'd been an officer, so I understood that. And so, but we talked about that, but he was pretty set on it. He was excited.
Sam, he's set on. He's going, Dad. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your advice. But I want to enlist.
Yep.
And what military occupation specialty was he trying to enlist for?
Well, I'm sure you can tell me what his MOS was, but he was just proud after he got in. He was just an infantry grunt.
So he said that I want to go be an 03. And
you don't want to be a diesel mechanic or something? Nope.
Which, as a parent, of course, you're probably like, okay, I got you. You want to be a Marine, but can we pick
right
something? Nope, Dad, I want to be infantry.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Sam.
Well, I was just gonna say he was a hard charger. He was right in there, and off he went to Pendleton. And I was down there at his graduation, and very proud right. Parents, my wife and I, and some of my other family came down, and to see him, and I think, as I said, not only Pat Tillman fever, but not sure where he was going in college. I think he had roommates that weren't, really on fire with life yet and doing anything. So I think he was ready to sort of take charge, and I'm gonna do this and find myself, I think, and start to grow up and become a man. I think was a lot of that too.
Yeah, right. And I've had a lot of time in the infantry, so I would tell you there's some of the most brilliant humans on earth, and my hats off to the 03 community. But so what was the dynamics of your wife, right? How did this impact your relationship or your wife? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, let's see. As I say, we were in a little bit of upheaval, compared to most of our 34 years. That was a little bit of a trying time, not between us personally, but just right. Kind of career-wise and stuff. And so, and of course, Afghanistan was really raging, 2011. So, I forget what the bookends of that was, but that was right in the thick of everything. And so that was very much on her mind and my mind. And what would this mean? Where are you going to be stationed? And we just know when the call goes out, the Marines are first to show up. And so I was very aware of that he could easily find himself in harm's way. That's a little bit of foreshadowing that we'll come back to there.
Right.
So yeah. I think, one, we were filled with pride. My parents and grandparents have been military. My grandfather was a full bird in the Army, fought in Battle of the Bulge. So there was a certain pride of that too, of the tradition of family and serving our country. Excited for him as an individual and making his choices and stepping out, making his own decisions. So what was he, probably by that time, I guess 20 years old or so. Yeah. So, that we had discussions about it, but I know, and she's very stoic Irish, Colleen is. So I think she holds a lot of things inside, her fears and concerns. So I don't think she told me the half of how she was feeling.
Sam, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I've met Sam and his lovely bride in person a few times. I've seen him a few times. Wonderful couple. And I can't wait to see you guys again. But so I love how you highlighted, no matter what emotions you and your lovely bride experienced or what you believed he should have done, I like how you guys fought through that to show the best support you can for his decision. I believe there's a lot of times when a child will make a decision and the parents will allow their emotions to get in the way of vice thinking through how to best support that child. So now he's in, right? He's in, he graduates, he's in the Marine Corps, Superfly, he's doing his thing, and then he deploys, correct?
He does. Let's see. I'm trying to think where he went immediately from Pendleton. Oh, I should remember this now, but he did ultimately deploy out to Afghanistan. I
Okay,
forget
yeah.
if that might have been from Camp Lejeune. I think it was from Camp Lejeune. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me just kind of back up to you because you
Yeah.
raised a good point there about being a parent. And so we're talking about being a parent of a child joining the military and that initial experience. One thing I will say about it, from my perspective, having raised 4 kids, and I think they're pretty well adjusted and good outlook on life. I've never understood these parents that sort of harbor this chip on their shoulder if their kid doesn't do what they expected them to do, what the parent expected. Well, I expected you to go off and do this. And if you're choosing to do this, well, you're on your own because you're making that decision. That's never crossed our mind. As long as you are a stand-up citizen and you are not, we try to avoid the victim mentality of relying upon the government and handouts and being lazy. You need to be a productive, stand-up citizen of the world, but pursue whatever it is. I told him, if you're going to be in a rock band, well, absolutely, but go 110%. Don't dabble in it. So that was kind of always our outlook, that we would always be very supportive and not second guessing and disappointment. I don't understand parents to do that. Your kids need your love and support, whatever it is they do, as long as, again, it's productive and upstanding. So yeah, he went off, and when he got deployed, well, I'll tell you, first of all, Mario, when he was down there at Pendleton, that was our first experience with that, of dealing with real boot camp. I can joke about being a JAG guy. We went to knife and fork school, right? Full metal briefcase. So so he was down there at Pendleton, and I remember they get this. You know what this experience was like, but they get this one phone call to report into the parent, and I don't know, it's like in the first week or something, right? And it was the craziest thing. I know they do it on purpose. I answer the phone, I go, "Hello," and all I hear is click, and I was like, I think that was our son's one phone call to tell us he's okay, and he stood on the yellow line or the footprints or something. I have no idea what he said. So I almost didn't tell my wife that he called, because I think she would have been more afraid. Like, what were they doing to him? So
you
that was,
got to watch those drill soldiers. And I'm joking. I was a drilling soldier myself.
yeah, that was one phone call, and then another one. Fast forward, I forget how long boot camp was, a few months, but another one was my mom had passed away while he was there at boot camp, and I think one of his siblings got word to him in a letter or something like that that Nanny had passed away. Well, I felt terrible. I remember the time it happened. A phone call came in. I didn't recognize the number, so I just ignored it. We were at a social thing. And then I got his voicemail, and it was him, and he was quite emotional. You can imagine you don't have to imagine, what you're going through at boot camp. You inflicted some of that pain, right? So he was quite emotional, and he left this voicemail, and he about how he was so upset about Nanny and sorry he couldn't be there and all that stuff. So, those are family moments, and that was kind of a new experience for us, that, hey, you're in the military now, and that's how it goes. So yeah, he gets out to Camp Lejeune, then he gets off to Afghanistan, and I just remember, my wife was very, very carried a lot of stress and weight on her during that time, and
Right.
that fear that your son is going to be hurt or killed, and what would that be like when the people arrive to your house, to inform you, and so that's how that was. And we just,
yeah, and you guys, and I'm glad you highlighted that, because although, when I see you, Sam, and I'm pretty sure when other people see, I mean, you're positive. I mean, you're an inspiration. I mean, I stalk you. I mean, I follow you on Facebook, and but you're very positive, and you got a wonderful. Like I said, you guys been together over 30 years, right? So you wouldn't. I know I didn't believe until I got you on the show. I didn't believe that you guys had experienced this. And how did you deal with, my son is deployed to Afghanistan. It is a war zone. And, how do we prepare for that phone call? And then how do you live and thrive through those emotions? Can you help us, give us some tips on, how did you guys get through that 8 month, whatever the deployment was?
So I think first of all, just like this little sign over my shoulder says, it also has to start with your faith. I mean, everything in life, your love, your health, your career, your family, has to start for us spiritually in God and Jesus. And so that was important, is
Yeah.
to offer that up and to pray for his safety and protection, and to bring him home safe to us. That was first. Then communication between ourselves was very important. And then I think sometimes in your mind, after the faith and everything, then you just sort of play the odds and say, well, look, most of the young people are being deployed and they come home safely. So you just have to
Right.
play the odds too. So we had that feeling for sure. But then at some point, I can't even really remember how the news came in about this, Mario, but just to relay the story, and I'll just kind of share what I think he would be okay with us sharing. But, they did get in their share of firefights there. And there was one particular one that was that was the most significant, and that is they were basically ambushed, and they were in the subordinate lower position, which you never want to be in. They were being fired on by the snipers and what have you from up above. And a couple of things that I'll share with you that came out of that. One was, it was pretty significant, as my son shared with me. He says, Dad, all the training they can do with you until you really get into the firefight. He said, there's some things you just can't prepare for. And I said, well, give me an example. He said, well, obviously you have these live rounds coming at you, but it's all hitting the dirt right in front of us, and it's kicking up the rocks into our goggles and into our face and all that stuff. And he goes, I wasn't really prepared for that. I'm like, I can't see. And I'm like, wow, that's scary. Those are rounds that are coming in on you right in front of your face. That's one. And then the most tragic was that his buddy was actually shot and killed right next to him. And so that was a huge impact. And actually what happened after that, our son provided cover while I guess it was a Black Hawk that came in to retrieve him. I'm sure at that time they probably didn't know whether he was deceased or not, and he provided cover while they transported his buddy to the chopper. And our son, I believe, went with them and escorted him. So I don't even know a whole lot more detail than that, as you can imagine. He doesn't really actually talk about it a whole lot.
Right.
But I know that every Memorial Day, every day he remembers his buddy, but every Memorial Day is special. And I think he's I don't know if he went there to New York to his buddy's mom's house and so forth to pay his respects and stuff. So that's something he'll carry with him the rest of his life. He received a very special commendation for that, and I can't remember the exact name, but it's the Navy Marine Commendation, medal. So it was a real big deal for him, and just brought it home close. Certainly sadness and grief over his buddy and for his mom, and that our son was right there next to him, and
Wow.
what that could have meant.
Yeah, and in during this interview, Sam, and thank you so much for talking about how you and Colleen supported your son's decision pre Marine Corps. How you were there with him during the Marine Corps, and I'm glad you brought up some of the traumatic experiences that he experienced in combat. Talk to us a little bit about post Marine Corps, and I'm pretty sure that he was not the same person, of course, that he was before he went in. How did you all support him post Marine Corps in dealing with some of the traumatic things he experienced?
Yeah, that is really hard because obviously I'm going to respect his privacy. And,
Absolutely.
I can say that the VA has been very supportive and with all the supporting him and his needs and so forth. But just on the personal level, yeah, I feel it's one of those balancing acts, because we've been there for him and there's been some conversations, but to me, he really needs to initiate that. I don't like to be the one to kind of raise issues and hey, you want to talk about this or that. I just feel like that's his experience. It's
Right.
his life. He's getting whatever professional help he needs and all that. But so you want to be there and available, And of course, he's an adult, so he's out doing his life. So it's not like I see him day in and day out. And sometimes, and now he's moved away geographically across the country. So it's even, more so that we're not as in close contact. So you want to be supportive and yet not prying, not bringing things up. And it's hard as a parent. I think the main thing is to, in all areas, just be available and be supportive, to the kids, I think is the main thing.
No, great advice, and I agree with you that a lot of time, a lot of times as parents, we don't. I can only speak for myself. I don't see my children as children sometimes. I mean, as adults, you're like, you're still that 3-year-old. But great advice on being available, allowing them to initiate the conversations, and just having an open mind. I think that is magnificent. Now that he's out, you guys made it through that journey, right? And now he's a proud Marine, because he'll be a Marine forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And,
Yep.
and so now, as you as a family, or even you, Sam, look back at that entire situation, what advice, if you had to pick one or two things, could you give the parents that will listen and view this episode, or those who don't even realize they'll become parents and watch this episode, and they may deal with this years down the road? What can you leave them with to help them support the child?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I still, knowing everything, I'm still, of course, I would encourage any young person and any parent to be supportive of the decision to serve in our military. I think it's just an amazing opportunity. So that's one. And even knowing the risks, and that our son got deployed into combat and all that stuff, I wouldn't change my mind about that. I would still, give him the same advice that I gave him then. Is like, if you've got the ability and you were halfway down the road to go in as the officer, I just think, I think that's a great choice. I'd be interested in your perspective on that, but I just think that is a great opportunity. And I think he might have had a whole nother, a portfolio of opportunities for him that might have parlayed well into civilian life, for him as well. But he was where he was at. Sorry, he was at where he was at in his mindset. So that's fine. He had to make his choices. But I would still give that advice if someone has the ability and opportunity to do that. But I don't know. I don't know where we are statistically in terms of young people serving their country, but we always need good, proud Americans to serve in our military. You can't take it for granted. You look what's going on in Ukraine as we speak today, and there they are without the support of neighboring countries or Western countries to jump in and say, don't worry, we got your back. We say we got their back, but we really don't. And when the Shinola is hitting the fan over there, they're calling on all their civilians to report to the front against this giant bear, if you will. Well, it just kind of drives home, how fortunate we are to have this world-class military and world-class young people willing to serve in it, to potentially make the ultimate sacrifice. And that just gives me chills, because we've been doing it for about 240 years in this country. And I fear the day where, we don't have enough good people interested, because I don't know, I'm being a little facetious, but they're too busy. It becomes too self-serving, and they're too interested in playing video games or whatever. And it does require sacrifice. So I don't know if that if there's a theme there.
Oh, but, yeah. No, Sam, thank you. Because this is what I heard, Sam, and hopefully the listeners and viewers heard this. Don't take for granted that our nation is free and we have a military. It's an all-volunteer service, and it's very critical to the defense of our nation. You heard it from Sam, who's a parent. He's a veteran himself, whose son was in college, 2 years in college, and made a decision. And Sam and Colleen supported his son. They may not have agreed with his decisions, as we discussed, but they supported him. And again, real life situation right now. You're watching live. This episode will be aired next, in a couple of weeks, so it'll still be relevant. Where you're seeing a nation who does not have a capable military, and now they're asking for civilians to come join get armed and defend their country. So, Sam, that's what I got out of your comments, and I appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, you too. Thank you for your service and your leadership and how you keep giving, still serving after your formal tour of duty has ended. That's fantastic. We always got to be. The great Tony Robbins out there, but I heard him. Somebody asked him in an interview the other day that I watched. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I just watched it recently. And he said, "What's your definition of greatness when you look at another person?" And he said, And he said, "I've met a lot of great people, financially or whatever." And he says, "But really, anybody at any level, those that are serving others, that's a trait of greatness." And I thought, that's pretty good right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys heard it. If you want to strive for greatness, just wake up every day and look for opportunities to serve other people for the betterment of mankind and for the next generation. Sam Crump, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you and your lovely family.
All right, sir. Thanks very much,
sir. I salute you, my friend, as two veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.